Sorry, can I also just answer on that question regarding affordability? I would strongly advise you to consider a couple of providers, because it's really not a one-size-fits-all. It's definitely, it has to be specific to your business. So things that are cost drivers are really the data storage. How much data have you got? How many portfolios do you have? Do you have reinsurance, yes or no? Do you need a contractual service margin, yes or no? So all those kind of questions, ask that to the vendors so that you can come up with something that is really best suited for your business.
Thank you very much for your presentation. My question goes to Mia, that's the second presenter. My question is, what could be the main driving force for the big push, as you said, to get the actuaries out in the DC pensions world? And what would the industry be missing if such absence, come to reality? For countries such as Ghana and probably Nigeria that are, I would say, early or beginners in this DC, type of pension system. Yeah.
Thank you. So in terms of the DC funds, the world sort of moved into that direction to move the risk back to the pensioner, which, so I'm not a huge fan of a DC fund. It kind of makes sense, but if you speak to people, they would say, I want to be in charge of my investments, so I want to be in a DC funds. And even in South Africa, when people were moving and funds were closing, they actually had an option where they said, okay, we're closing the DB fund. You can decide if you want to stay in the DB fund or move over to the DC fund. It took me convincing people to stay in the DB fund. They want to be in a DC fund, which is kind of odd. I prefer a DB fund. So in South Africa, what's been happening, and we heard that yesterday, I think 2 people wrote the pensions exam this last session, because the DC funds are really moving. The regulator is letting them move for reasons that are kind of odd. We think they are just very, very busy. So they say, if we don't have to check it from a regulatory point of view, it's fine. Let's call it a DC fund exempt fund, valuator exempt fund. So the valuator is not required to sign off on the valuations. So what that means is there's no one checking. And I had that conversation with somebody last night where he said, no, but we do all the checks in terms of administration. No, you don't. The actuary has a better understanding of how the data works, has a better understanding of how assets and liabilities need to match. So it is a real pity that it's happening, but there are more and more funds moving into the DC valuation exempt space. They say it's a bank account. Why do you need an actuary signing off on that? It's too expensive. It's costing the members. But in reality, the stuff that we've seen is really quite scary as soon as you remove the valuator from those funds. So I agree with you. The solution that we came up with is really a data checking report to say it's obviously much less than what a valuation would cost you, but it's to say let's put the actuaries back in there, let's not charge the valuation fee, but at least give the trustees some comfort that the data is fine. So we understand the data better than what the administrator or the trustees would understand, but it is a problem, so we need to come up with solutions, and I just feel it's moving in that direction. It's not just in South Africa, it's moving very strongly in South Africa. We had 2 people write the pensions exam.
Thank you very much. Thank you. A round of applause for them, please.
Oh, God.
Those were deep insights in emerging actuarial systems and regulatory reporting. Let me acknowledge the presence of the CEO of Saham Life Insurance Ghana Limited, who also doubles as the president of the Chartered Insurance Institute, and here is Mr. Teria Ben Ahmed. A round of applause for him, please. We'll take a 10 minutes coffee break, and we resume our seats in 10 minutes for us to continue proceedings. End of the first session. Thank you.